Noah Reed had lived in apartment 4C for 11 months before he noticed the door next to his had no number. Layers of gray paint sealed its edges to the frame, and the brass knob had been polished by hands that could not have reached it. His landlord called it a utility closet. The building plans called it apartment 4B. Both explanations failed at 1:14 on a Tuesday morning, when Noah heard a child dragging a wooden toy across the floor behind the sealed door. The sound crossed the wall beside his bed, stopped, and returned to the hallway. When Noah opened his own door, a narrow strip of yellow light glowed beneath 4B. In that light lay a small brass key. The key was old and warm. One side carried the number 4B, the other had been scratched with an address Noah knew better than his own: 17 Ashbury Lane, the house where he had lived until he was 8. His family had moved 2 states away after what his mother always called the difficult summer. The house had been sold, renovated, and photographed online without anything unusual. Noah told himself someone had searched his name and manufactured the key as a joke. Then it slid into the sealed apartment lock. Paint cracked around the frame with a noise like breaking ice. The door opened inward, releasing air that smelled of dust, crayons, and the Apple shampoo his mother had stopped buying 20 years ago. There was no utility closet behind 4B. A short hallway ran away from him beneath wallpaper printed with faded blue sailboats. Noah had peeled those same boats beside the stairs at Ashbury Lane. Halfway down was the burn mark his father made carrying a space heater. At the end stood a white bedroom door covered in glow-in-the-dark stars. The dimensions were impossible. Apartment 4B should have ended after 6 feet at the exterior wall, but the hallway extended at least 20. Noah stepped inside and looked back. The open doorway still showed the stained carpet of his current building. He placed his phone on the threshold to keep the door from closing. Somewhere beyond the bedroom, a floorboard creaked beneath the weight of a small bare foot. The bedroom was not similar to Noah's childhood room. It was the room. A solar system quilt covered the narrow bed. Plastic planets hung from fishing line above it, with Saturn tilted because Noah had broken the ring. 3 library books sat beneath the radiator, overdue since 2006. Even the crescent-shaped crack above the headboard remained. Noah approached the desk and found his name carved beneath its edge in the clumsy block letters he remembered making with his father's pocket knife. Nothing carried the softened edges of a reconstruction. Dust lay everywhere except on the floor between the bed and a wooden toy chest. That path had been used recently. On the pillow was a paper note written in Noah's childhood handwriting. "You came back before he stopped breathing." Noah found the photograph face down on the desk. It showed the 8th grade class of Ashbury Middle School in 2012, 6 years after his family moved away. Noah stood in the back row, 14 years old, wearing a striped shirt he had never owned. Beside him was a thinner boy with Noah's eyes and their father's crooked smile. Someone had circled the two of them in red pencil. The caption on the back read, "Noah and Eli Reed, brothers, picture day." Noah had no brother named Eli. He had one younger sister, Claire, born after the move. Yet looking at the boy caused a memory to stir. 2 children whispering beneath the stairs, agreeing that whoever found the best hiding place could keep its secret forever. Pencil lines climbed the bedroom doorframe. Noah's measurements ended at age 8, exactly as he remembered. A second set belonged to Eli. The earliest marks began below Noah's, then continued year after year until the newest line reached above Noah's adult shoulder. That mark was dated tomorrow. Noah rubbed it with his thumb. The graphite smeared, fresh enough to stain his skin. From inside the wall came 3 soft scratches. A new line appeared beneath his hand, drawn by pressure from the other side of the wood. Beside it, letters formed one stroke at a time. Noah came home. He backed away. The toy chest at the foot of the bed gave a single hollow knock. Then his phone began ringing from the hallway. Noah's mother, Evelyn, answered on the 3rd call. He showed her the bedroom over video. At first she went silent. Then she named details the camera had not captured: the loose floorboard beneath the rug, the blue marble inside the radiator cover, the music box hidden in the desk. Noah found each one where she said it would be. When he asked about Eli, her face emptied. She said Noah had invented an imaginary brother after the difficult summer, but behind her denial was fear, sharp and immediate. She told him to leave everything untouched and close the door. Before hanging up, she leaned toward the screen and whispered, "Do not open the chest again." Noah had never told her there was a chest. Inside the desk, Noah found a red tin music box painted with circus horses. The moment he lifted it, a complete memory arrived. He was 7, sitting at the kitchen table while his mother carried in a lopsided chocolate cake. Eli was beneath the table, stealing frosting with one finger. Evelyn wound the music box and told both boys they would always know where home was. Noah remembered the tune, the candle smoke, and Eli laughing with his mouth full. The memory felt too detailed to be invented. Noah carried the music box across the threshold into apartment 4C behind him. The bedroom light flickered. His mother called immediately. Her voice shook as she asked why a strange red box had appeared in a photograph on her phone. Noah asked Evelyn what she remembered about his 7th birthday. She said they had spent it alone in a motel during the move. He described the chocolate cake, the circus horses, and Eli beneath the table. She accused him of trying to confuse her. While they spoke, the family album stored in her cloud account changed. A photograph of Evelyn holding the cake vanished, leaving a blank square between 2 ordinary days. Noah still remembered every second. His mother remembered none of it. He carried the music box back across the threshold. The recovered memory dulled but did not disappear. On Evelyn's phone, the cake photograph returned. This time Eli's face had been scratched out. The room was not preserving memories. It was moving them between people. Claire arrived before dawn, furious that Noah had frightened their mother. She entered 4B only after he showed her the impossible hallway. Inside the bedroom, her anger turned to recognition. She touched the solar system quilt and said Eli used to hide beneath it during thunderstorms. Claire was born 3 years after the family supposedly moved. She could not have known him. When Noah led her back into 4C, the memory vanished from her face. She asked who Eli was. They repeated the test twice. Inside the room, Claire remembered a brother who read to her, carried her through the Ashbury hallway, and disappeared before her 5th birthday. Outside, she remembered being an only child until Noah told her otherwise. The room contained a childhood their family had been trained to forget. Beneath the loose floorboard, Noah found a cassette labeled Reed Family Summer. The bedroom still had his yellow tape recorder. He pressed play. Their father's voice explained the rules of hide-and-seek while children laughed in the background. Whenever someone said Eli's name, the tape dropped into perfect silence. Not static, not erased hiss. Absolute absence, each gap lasting as long as a word or sentence should have lasted. On the 3rd gap, Noah heard breathing beneath the silence. Slow at first, then faster. Claire placed her hand on the toy chest. The breathing on the cassette matched the faint rise and fall beneath its wooden lid. When their father's voice said, "Ready or not," the latch lifted by itself and struck the metal catch. The chest was the one object Noah remembered his father destroying after the difficult summer. Its green paint was chipped around the lock. Deep scratches marked the inside edge of the lid, though Noah could see them only through the narrow gap created by the lifted latch. A child's breath warmed his fingers. Then a voice whispered, "You promised not to tell." Noah saw another fragment of memory. Eli climbing into the chest during hide-and-seek, Noah lowering the lid and the old latch falling shut. Eli had laughed at first. Later he had called Noah's name. Noah had stood in the hallway, angry that his brother had found the best hiding place, and decided to let him wait. The memory ended before anyone opened the lid. Noah and Claire dragged the chest 6 inches toward the doorway. their phones filled with altered records. A birth certificate for Elias Martin Reed appeared in the family archive. Old tax forms listed 3 dependents. Photographs changed to include a narrow boy half hidden behind Noah. At the same time, Claire forgot the first 6 inches of every room in the apartment, walking into walls as if the space had been removed from her understanding. They pushed the chest back. The records disappeared and Claire's depth perception returned. The exchange was exact. The farther they moved an object from its remembered position, the more of a shared day transferred into Noah and out of somebody else. Opening the chest would restore everything. It might also empty his family of every day Eli had lived. A ledger was taped beneath the bed. Their father, Martin, had recorded dates, objects, and names in cramped handwriting. Red music box, Evelyn loses 7th birthday. Blue marble, Noah loses hospital visit. School photograph, Claire loses graduation. Each entry ended with the same instruction: return the object before sunrise and the memory returns to its owner. The final pages described a room that could be built wherever a forgotten person was still loved. Martin had not invented it. He had found instructions inside the wall of the Ashbury house after Eli died. The room offered the family a bargain. It would hold every unbearable memory of Eli, allowing them to continue, but it needed one person to remain capable of finding the door. Martin chose Noah. Martin's last entry corrected Noah's first assumption. The apartment did not store copies. It stored ownership. Every remembered day had to belong to someone. When the family surrendered Eli, the room distributed his life among objects and erased the connections between them. Noah retained only the path back because guilt had made him the strongest witness. If he reclaimed an object, someone else surrendered the matching day. If he removed them all, Eli would become real in Noah's mind and absent from everyone else's. The chest held the final hour. Opening it would restore what Noah had done. The cost would fall on Evelyn, who had shared that hour most completely. She would forget not only Eli's death, she would forget Eli had ever been born. Noah needed proof the ledger still governed the room. He carried the school photograph into 4C, the older version of himself in the back row sharpened. Eli turned toward the camera. At the same moment, Claire's framed university diploma went blank. She could still read, but she no longer knew she had attended college. Her phone showed 4 years of photographs in which strangers occupied the space beside her. Noah returned the picture to the desk. Claire collapsed as the missing years rushed back. She remembered the graduation again, but also remembered Eli standing outside the ceremony, older than he had been when he died. The room had been spending the family's later memories to imagine the life Eli never received. The fresh height marks were not evidence that he survived. They were installments. At sunrise, a new sentence appeared in Martin's ledger. The room follows the witness, but the door remembers where it began. Beneath it was the Ashbury address and a drawing of the brass key. Noah believed his father had left one final safeguard in the original house. He and Claire returned every object to its marked position, locked 4B, and drove 2 states north. During the trip, Evelyn called repeatedly, begging them not to enter Ashbury Lane. She finally admitted that Martin had taken Noah there every year until his death. Noah had entered the empty house, spent 1 hour upstairs, and returned remembering less. The annual visits had not been therapy. His father had been renewing the bargain before the room could open beside Noah again. 17 Ashbury Lane stood empty behind a bank foreclosure sign. The current lock was new, but the 4B key entered without resistance. Noah turned it. Instead of the house's front hall, the door opened onto the 4th floor of his apartment building. His own door, 4C, waited at the far end. When he looked over his shoulder, Ashbury Lane had vanished. Behind him was the copied childhood hallway, stretching toward the bedroom. Claire remained outside the house, visible through a narrowing slice of daylight. She shouted for Noah to pull the key out. Before he could, a child's hand closed around the inside edge of the door. The street disappeared completely. Noah now stood between his current apartment and the room his family had built from what they refused to remember. Noah ran to 4C and opened it. Beyond was not his apartment but the front porch of Ashbury Lane at night. He stepped through and found himself back inside the childhood bedroom. Each doorway led to another version of home. The motel his mother remembered instead of his birthday, Claire's first apartment with a space where her diploma should hang, the hospital corridor from the day Eli was born. All paths returned to the toy chest. The room had stopped accepting partial visits. On the desk, Martin's ledger opened to a page Noah had not seen. A message had been written over and over until the paper tore. A forgotten person cannot leave, but a remembered person can choose who carries him. The fresh pencil line on the doorframe pointed to a loose strip of molding. Behind it, Noah found a digital recorder wrapped in his father's handkerchief. Martin's final message had been made weeks before his death. He apologized for choosing forgetting instead of grief. Each year the room had demanded more memories to keep Eli contained. It had taken vacations, arguments, birthdays, and eventually Martin's ability to recognize his own children. He warned Noah that the chest did not contain Eli. It contained the last shared truth about him. Open it, and the truth would need a permanent owner. Leave it closed, and the room would keep borrowing future days to build Eli the life he never had. There was no ending without a loss. The chest began to shake. Noah lifted the lid 1 inch. Memory entered him like cold water. He saw Eli climb inside during their game. He saw the latch fall when Noah sat on the lid as a joke. Eli begged him to open it. Noah refused until the knocking stopped, believing his brother was pretending. Their mother found the chest near evening. Martin broke the lock, but the air inside had already gone still. Noah had not merely forgotten a tragedy. He had asked to forget his choice. The room had obeyed by cutting Eli out of everyone who might remind him. Beneath the half-open lid, there was no body, only warm darkness and the sound of Evelyn calling both boys to dinner. The lid pulled upward against Noah's hands. Beyond the darkness, he could feel the complete shape of Eli's life. Birthdays, fevers, private jokes, and the funeral the family had buried inside the room. Taking those memories would make Eli real to Noah forever. It would also take them from Evelyn. She would wake with 2 children instead of 3 and know unexplained grief. Claire would keep her future but lose the brother she could remember only inside 4B. Noah understood the cruelty of the bargain. It offered him absolution by making him the sole witness, turning truth into another private possession. He lowered the lid. The room whispered in Eli's adult voice, "If you leave me here, I keep growing." Noah worked backward through the room. He placed the photograph face down, returned the cassette beneath the floorboard, wound the music box once, and locked it in the desk. With each object restored, a doorway disappeared. The hospital became a wall. Claire's apartment folded into the closet. Ashbury Lane returned beyond the front door. At the doorframe, Noah found the pencil used for Eli's height marks. The ledger contained no entry for it. He slipped it into his pocket. The copied bedroom trembled, angry but intact. Before leaving, Noah told the closed chest every detail he could remember. Eli's crooked smile, the frosting beneath the table, the promise about the best hiding place. Remembering aloud cost no one else a day. Noah opened the Ashbury front door and found Claire waiting in daylight. Only 9 minutes had passed. Back at his building, the key no longer opened 4B. The landlord finally drilled through the lock. Behind the door was 6 feet of empty concrete and an exterior wall exactly where the plan said it should be. Evelyn remembered Noah's 7th birthday, Claire remembered graduation, and neither recognized Eli's name. Noah did. He wrote everything down before sleep could soften it. He chose to carry the guilt without stealing the grief that belonged to anyone else. For 3 nights the building remained silent. On the fourth, Noah woke to the sound of graphite moving against wood beside his bed. A pencil mark crossed the frame of Noah's bedroom door. It stood 3 inches above the newest line from 4B. Beside it was tomorrow's date and the name Eli. The wooden pencil in Noah's pocket had worn itself shorter during the night. Below the mark, a second sentence appeared in the handwriting of a grown man. "Thank you for remembering me." Noah touched the graphite and heard a toy chest latch click inside his closet. He did not open it. Across town, Evelyn woke from a dream about setting 3 places at the breakfast table. She could not explain why one empty chair made her cry. The room was gone, but the place it had remembered was now inside them, and something there was still growing.